Thanks for joining us. For the first time today, we're hearing from the family of Ricky Cobb II after the trooper who shot and killed him was charged in his death.
We want equality. We want justice. We're not asking for the world. We're just asking for what's righteously ours.
The shooting happened 6 months ago during a traffic stop on I-94 in Minneapolis. State Trooper Ryan Longren is now charged with second-degree murder, manslaughter, and assault. Hennepin County Attorney Mary Moriarty says the shooting was not justified. Longren's attorney says he was protecting himself and his partner from death or great bodily harm. Meanwhile, the Minnesota State Troopers Association says they stand firmly behind the troopers who have to use deadly force, saying Longren's actions were the result of a legal obligation. Just minutes ago, the Minneapolis City Council passed a resolution calling for a ceasefire between Israel and Hamas in Gaza. It passes with a vote of 9 members in favor, 3 vetoes against, and 1 abstention. On Tuesday night, crowds of people packed the chambers to make their voices heard. Council members made several amendments to the resolution, which also calls for an end to U.S. military funding for Israel. It's a largely symbolic move that several cities across the country have also made. In just a few hours, Princeton's fire chief is expected to leave his post. Ron Lawrence's resignation letter is on tonight's city council agenda. Over the weekend, most of his department presented a vote of no confidence, saying they're dealing with worn-out gear and communication issues.
The firefighters don't trust the chief. They don't feel safe working for him anymore, and that's why we're putting our foot down. If all those repairs are made and we had a different chief, we would stay.
Firefighters say 2/3 of them would have quit if the city didn't take action. The city has hired an outside firm to conduct a workplace assessment. Well, turning now to take a look at our weather, a bit of deja vu, Ben. It's looking like we will end the week with clouds.
Yeah, we don't see a whole lot of widespread sunshine in the forecast anytime soon. In fact, we're going to be dealing with this low-hanging cloud deck and widespread fog, probably at least through tomorrow morning. Here's a live shot from Golden Valley, and it's kind of a depressing shot. Looks more like mid to late March than mid to late January, and temperatures certainly feel like that as well. So again, the fog's going to linger over the next day and a half or so. Patchy slick spots during the morning hours thanks to some freezing drizzle and some areas of freezing fog. But again, it's just during the morning hours. Once we get into midday and especially the afternoon, temperatures warm up where we don't have to deal with any icy conditions. And guess what? It's going to get warmer before it gets colder. Current temperatures, most of us are already well above freezing around the Twin Cities with some lingering cold spots across western and northern Minnesota. And here's a look at the next 12 hours. Again, not a whole lot of changes. Temperatures warming a couple degrees before we fall back to near the freezing mark tonight. We'll highlight some additional icy spot potentials overnight tonight and when the sun is going to return. That's in your forecast just ahead.
Ben, thank you so much. In around 1 hour, President Biden is expected to announce billions of dollars in funding for transportation projects during a stop in Superior, Wisconsin. Our crews are standing by at the brewery just across the river from Duluth. The visit comes following the approval of a $1 billion federal investment to help replace the Blotnick Bridge between Duluth and Superior. President Biden will be touting his efforts to improve infrastructure across the country. Well, in the race for the White House, campaigns have officially moved to South Carolina. Some experts say it's looking more likely that we'll see a rematch between President Biden and former President Donald Trump. Still, opponents on both sides of the ballot say they are not giving up. Minnesota's Dean Phillips is calling his New Hampshire numbers a miraculous 21% finish. That is far behind President Biden's 56% write-in win. The congressman acknowledged the uphill climb, but he's still banking on the momentum in the primaries to come. On the GOP side, Nikki Haley is doing the same. She's in her home state where she served 2 terms as governor, saying she will not back down and the race is far from over. After losing to former President Donald Trump in New Hampshire, there are major questions about her path to winning the Republican nomination. Former President Donald Trump is expected to testify today in his own defense in the defamation trial against him. Attorneys for columnist E. Jean Carroll are expected to wrap up their case today, and then Trump is expected to take the stand early this afternoon. He'll be speaking in front of a jury that will decide how much money he needs to pay Carroll in damages. A change is coming to your FAFSA forms that could mean more financial aid for students. The Education Department is looking to fix an error on how the aid will be calculated for students starting post-secondary education. Experts say the change may lead to delays, but officials say it could add up to an additional $1.8 billion in available funds. Well, the need for help from food assistance in Minnesota is growing. Here's a breakdown of what we've learned through new data.
I'm Jennifer Hoff. Minnesota once again hitting a new record of food shelf visits, topping 7.5 million last year. That's a 32% increase from 2022. The nonprofit that tracks these trends says inflation, the end of COVID relief funds, and stagnant wages are all contributing to this unprecedented demand. The numbers could start to go down this year as more families start to benefit from free school meals that the legislature approved last year. There are also market bucks available to use at farmers markets and a food helpline if you need that. We have all that information with this story at KARE11.com.
Well, tonight, a time-tested tradition is back in Minnesota, celebrating everything winter. Michelle Beck gives us a preview of the St. Paul Winter Carnival.
Rice Park is warming up for a pretty cool event that starts later today. The St. Paul Winter Carnival is celebrating 138 years of heritage, making it the oldest winter festival in the country. Legendary events like the St. Paul Bouncing Team, which, by the way, is looking for people to try out to become a member. And of course, you'll see some notable faces like members of the royal family and the Klondike Kates. New this year is the warming center in the middle of the park, a place also for music and Minnesota-made beverages. Until Sunday, February 4th, the whole family can experience the fun here with activities like ice carving and parades.
It's really important to continue to honor our past while really looking at where are we at today, who are we as a community, and how do we celebrate that through our festival.
Events kick off here at the park tonight around 5:30 with a light show. At Rice Park, Michelle Beck, KARE 11 News.
Well, our recent cold snap helped get the temperatures where we need to get many of our winter traditions underway, but for others, it just was not enough. Organizers for the Wayzata Chili Open tell us they're canceling this year's event. It was scheduled for early February. They say the conditions on Lake Minnetonka just are not safe. And at the same time, the second weekend of the U.S. Pond Hockey Championship may also be in jeopardy. Organizers are keeping a close eye on the ice thickness at Lake Nokomis.